So hello, this video is an attempt to capture diaphragm breathing, yeah, Nirbeeja Yoga style. Now, diaphragm breathing in Nirbeeja Yoga is literally that, the breathing of the diaphragmatic tissues, yeah. So this involves being mindful of the region of the abdomen where the diaphragmatic tissue is. So you have lungs, yeah, you have like two lungs, you have the base of the lungs. So the lungs are sitting on the diaphragmatic tissue, yeah, like on it, yeah. When the diaphragm goes down, the lungs are having more space to breathe, and when it goes up, it's exhaling. Inhale, diaphragm goes down. Exhale, diaphragm goes up. Okay, so it's like a reverse pulley kind of mechanism, yeah. When inhaling, it goes down. Exhale, it goes up. Normal position when so the diaphragm is a dome-shaped tissue. Below, on top of it, is two lungs and the heart in the center. And below the diaphragm, to the now this is my right side. So this is a mirror image. Okay, so this is my right side. So I have my liver below the diaphragm. I have my stomach and pancreas, yeah. And then I have about here stomach and pancreas. And then I have the spleen behind my stomach, okay. And so then I have the pancreas at the nuke. So the stomach is this kind of shape, yeah. So kind of roundish, like a nut, yeah, ish, if you can call it, like a cashew nut. And in the nuke of it, you find the duodenum. So you have the pancreas right around there, yeah. You have the stomach, you have the spleen, and the pancreas close to it, yeah. And then you have the liver. Okay, I'm going a little anatomically flummoxed here, but okay. Okay, so the stomach continues into the intestines. It starts with the duodenum, and then it goes into forming the intestines. So in the nuke, just around where the duodenum is, you find the loop to the pancreas. So and you find the gallbladder below the liver, okay. So the juices from the gallbladder and from the pancreas pour into the duodenum, and that's how it aids in further digestion of food, which comes out of the stomach and moves through the duodenal tube. So juices pour into the duodenum and then continues its digestion into the intestines, yeah. Now so this part, the diaphragm, holds an important position in the maintenance of health in several parts of the metabolic processes, digestive systems. There are glands, liver, stomach, yeah, pancreas, the gallbladder, and then the esophagus is also from where, which continues into the stomach, yeah. Esophagus is the food pipe. So maintaining the diaphragm breathing helps in many ways, because the diaphragm has tissues continuous with the outer covering of the lungs and the heart, and the outer covering of the liver, the stomach, the spleen, the kidneys, which is there behind, yeah. So this portion, this area, occupies an important place in many metabolic processes. So diaphragm breathing in Nirbeeja Yoga style pays attention to having the diaphragm tissues itself breathe, the tissue of the diaphragm itself breathe. So what happens when the diaphragm is easily moving without tension is the lungs, which is on top, whose outer covering is continuous with the diaphragm, also is able to relax, because this is occupying an important part in the breathing process. So when this is relaxed, you'll experience less tension here. So when the tension is less, you're likely to breathe easier. Your lungs can fill in more air and exhale easily. So then emotional tensions become less, yeah, because the lungs are breathing easier, and because the heart is in between the lungs, there is less emotional tension. Becomes easier to breathe easy, live easier, yeah. And since the liver, the stomach, the spleen, the kidneys, the duodenum, pancreas is what is important for people who may be having issues with diabetes. Pancreas is an important organ. The liver helps in maintaining the liver has been called as a chemical factory of the body. Any digestive processes, the digestive material in one way or the other reaches the liver. Of course, it reaches every other part of the body, but liver has very important digestive processes, which then further helps in digesting the material before it moves again. Digestive material moves again into the blood. So that's how. So the liver plays an important role in digestion. Yeah. So when the diaphragm is breathing easier, all the organs which is below the diaphragm also is able to function better, because when there is less tension, we are less likely to do this, or we are less likely to stretch up due to the stress and tension. Above the kidneys is the adrenal glands. Adrenal glands is responsible for maintaining fight or flight. So if there is tension in your diaphragm and the tissues around your kidneys, your spine, your liver is all tense, then the adrenal glands is having to do some extra work because it perceives fight or flight. There could also be cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which continues to be produced because there is an experience of stress. Yeah. So if the diaphragm is tight, it's likely that you are experiencing some form of constant, ongoingly maintained stress. Yeah, which is not so healthy for a sense of feeling relaxed, or for your ability to, in some way, sleep well in the night, because there's always some tension or something is always bothering. Because this part is tense, it somehow also affects your emotional state, your heart, the emotional state, because your heart is also in some way dealing with things. So the mind tends to always keep being occupied with something. Okay, so instead of being creatively engaged, it may be more worrying about this or that, tension maybe. Yeah, so that has its own effects. So this exercise, diaphragm breathing, Nirbeeja Yoga style, helps to relax this portion of the body. Yeah. So it needs to be borne in mind that Nirbeeja Yoga is a slow method of yoga. Yeah. I would not be even moving any muscle. Right now I'm moving my hands and talking. But in the actual practice of Nirbeeja Yoga, there is not even the need to speak it. So what I'm doing is I'm speaking what I'm doing. What is basically a silent method of yoga. You don't even have to speak it. There is no need to move any muscles. It's basically a mindfulness, so to speak, of a particular kind, which in itself helps to detoxify, de-traumatize and decontaminate. But basically it is a yoga of care. By care, you're healing our tissues, you're de-traumatizing, decontaminating, detoxifying. Care is the medium, is the moving force. Yeah, care, love. Yeah, care. So mindfulness through care is the healing, moving yoga medium. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be speaking slowly, because this method of yoga is experiential. So depending on so I'll keep describing it, so you'll be able to have an understanding, because otherwise it may not be possible. So it's an attempt to capture the Nirbeeja Yoga session. Maybe in time you'll be able to get a hang of the flow of this method of yoga, or how it is, or what to expect in a video of Nirbeeja Yoga. Okay, so I'm bringing attention to my posture, I'm bringing attention to the state of my tissues in my posture. For example, I'm noticing that there is a certain, I'm paying attention to where there is tension in my body. For example, I'm noticing a little tension in my elbows, in my shoulders, in my neck. I'm also noticing a certain tension in the back of my neck. And I'm not doing anything. I'm only noticing that this is how things are. This is what is so. Okay? And I'm also noticing there's a certain tension about my thigh, outside of my thigh. I'm actually squatting on the floor. And I'm not going into the details of why am I feeling the tension, or where is this tension coming from, or I'm not paying attention to what may be the cause for the tension. Maybe I should move my leg around. No, none of that. I'm only noticing there is tension. Yeah? And then I'm noticing, so I'm going to go slow. This is slow. Yeah? Because things are already happening while I'm observing what's happening in my body. When I'm noticing what is so, there is already something happening just by the fact of me paying attention to it. So I'm paying attention to what is changing now, and I'm noticing that there's a certain ease about my shoulder, and I'm noticing a certain relaxation about the top of my shoulder, and I'm noticing that my breath is a little easier. Okay, now I'm noticing a certain movement about the top of this part of it. Okay, what's the name for this? Arm, lower arm, outer part of my lower arm. Ooh, this is my forearm. Yeah, this is my lower arm. Okay. Okay. Radius ulna. These are biological terms when you ask about elementals. Lower arm. Yeah. Radius ulna are the bones inside. So bones of this part of the hand. Okay. So again, to notice, this is just in the experience of it. I only have this part of my body, this part of my body. It's only when I'm speaking that I need to name the parts of the body, and hence the need to search for the words. Yeah. So when you're just experiencing it, it's that like, there is a certain movement here. That's what I notice, and then there is something happening here. Here. That's what I notice. I don't have to name that. Yeah. So it needs to be remembered that I'm speaking it, I'm naming it, where experience does not really, just simply experiencing it does not need that. So there is no limitation in words or by words in the practice of Nirbeeja Yoga. Yeah? Okay, so I'm noticing that when I'm in the anxiety of speaking it correctly, communicating it correctly, there's a certain tension about my solar plexus, which is the region below my diaphragm, yeah, which is just about somewhere the region below your lungs, yeah, below your diaphragm, but it's about here, where about you would say, you may probably point out to when you're saying your stomach is full, yeah, you may not really point at your stomach, but maybe around here you would point, yeah, so. Or you may point at your intestines, but it's somewhere a little above, yeah? So there's a certain existential, I wouldn't say existential, these are more words, but there is more tension that I notice, yeah? In my want to communicate it appropriately. So what I'm doing here is, I'm demonstrating how I maintain, how I do diaphragm breathing from the point of reference of mine. So it needs to be remembered that when somebody else may be practicing this, they may have to notice how is their experience when, for example, they may not be having an anxiety while speaking, like I have, yeah? So you may or may not notice any tension about here, but So that it needs to be remembered that this is how it is from my experience. So what I'm showing here is, in becoming aware of the region of the diaphragm, it needs the different other experiences that is there around here needs to be paid attention to. Otherwise, it's like, it's like naming the most obvious things before you can observe the subtle. Okay, so you need to observe that there are tensions. If there is tension, then to notice that there is tensions, and then to notice if there's an emotional experience, which may also be not so obvious until you pay attention to it. And then once you notice it, you're coming slowly to noticing what is more subtle, which may be the rhythms that is of the different organs and of the tissues, which is important for doing diaphragm breathing, the breathing of the tissues of the diaphragm in Nirbeeja Yoga style. Okay. Okay, so there's again that tension about the solar plexus, and that's so easy to get my lungs going, tense. Well, not quite tense, but there is a nervous connection between the solar plexus. Solar plexus is a group of nerves coming together. Yeah. So when there's a tension in the nerves, it also does something to my lungs and my heart. So there's this anxiety from there. So if you're noticing, if you're having different experience of anxiety, then doing this diaphragm breathing will also help to manage that. I notice that I have this anxiety when I'm speaking. Otherwise, I'm just cool. But when I have to speak, there's a certain blind spot, certain levels of things that I need to work. That's part of my work in progress. And I have the practice from Nirbeeja Yoga to maintain health. So when there is health concerns arising from this anxiety of communication, then I do Nirbeeja Yoga and de-traumatize and come to health. Yeah. So otherwise I would be a nervous wreck. Yeah. So how to maintain my health when I know that I have these strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. That makes me unique, the person that I am. Yeah, perfectly imperfect, imperfectly perfect. Yeah. Now, so I'm noticing what's the quality of my breath. I'm noticing there's a certain, because of the tension, my breath suddenly goes short, and then when I'm relaxing, it's going longer. So I'm noticing how is my breath? Is it long? Is it short? Is it tense? Is it relaxed? Right now I'm noticing there is some degrees of relaxing of the breath where it was slightly short. So I've been noticing this movement between the tension and the ease between the solar plexus, and my lungs are now getting used to, okay, now she's going to keep going tense ease. So lungs are like, okay, now I'm going to find another way to relax. So my lungs are going easier while I'm talking, and there's this tension going up and down. It's like the lungs say, okay, she's going crazy, but we can manage it. Yeah. So there's an integral intelligence of the body. When somebody may be losing it, it's like in a family. When somebody may be losing it, when others are noticing, okay, one person is losing it, others will kind of sort of manage it so that everybody is not losing it. So the body is also a family of many organs, many systems. So the lungs are now managing the show, much relaxed. I'm actually joking about it, if you notice. From the beginning of the thing to now, I'm actually joking about talking about this. And that is helping my solar plexus to ease. The lungs are easy, diaphragm is easier. The solar plexus, while I'm talking it, is easing. Yeah? So it was so easy to just lose it. Now, this is also my first video, so to speak, among the first ones where I'm actually detailing this. So I've not been speaking so much on video. There's this concern for most people about seeing and being seen. So I've been more a recluse, not quite so much on the video front, and especially not speaking about something so precious to me that I've been working on, like Nirbeeja Yoga. And I've been talking about this to people, having different people who have been interested in demonstrating that, but not quite on video, and not that way. And the last time I tried this, I had not so nice experiences, so I kind of like went into my shell. Yeah. So now I'm again speaking it. So my solar plexus has that existential angst. Is it safe to speak this? Is it not? How is people going to perceive it? So those kind of anxieties. So what am I doing is I'm acknowledging the emotional tensions. Yeah, I'm also acknowledging the experience that has been giving rise to these emotions, because of which the solar plexus has been going like that. Yeah, and then the lungs have been experiencing it. So if you notice, even while I've been describing why I have been doing that, I've actually been naming the causative factors for the experience of the solar plexus. So I've been talking my issue out. I've been talking the emotional state, or what comes to my attention of why I'm having that tension, why I'm having that emotion. Yeah. So I'm speaking it out. Yeah. Or I can just think it, acknowledge it, and then, well, it's not acknowledging, it's more like being present to or aware of what is the reason for this. Yeah. What's the underlying condition or cause for these tensions? So that's a different way by which the body is actually speaking. You're actually, in a way you can call it as a body speaking, or you can say that you're acknowledging the experience of living, and thereby helping to manage and regulate. You're listening to the story of why you are, how you are. Okay? And in listening to the thought, the emotion, the experience that's giving rise to who you are, how you are at this moment in time, you're also in sync with the physiological, anatomical processes that's holding these stories, these experiences, these memories in being you. Yeah? And when you're listening, maybe when you're also paying attention to what are the stories there is, what's the emotions there is, they automatically, subtly, continuously change. They change by the fact of you being in the presence, in the awareness of the why, the what, how, of how you are. Okay? So now that I notice how my solar plexus is, I also notice now it becomes easier for me to pay attention to my liver, the stomach, and my spleen. More what's coming to my attention is my stomach and my liver. And I'm noticing a tension, slight tension. It's like if you have a balloon and you blow it up a bit, you'll feel a certain tension about the balloon, versus no air, flaccid, there is no tension. Blow it up a bit, the balloon, slightly blown up balloon, has a tension, right? So I'm noticing a certain, that kind of a tension, balloonish kind of tension, in my liver. Okay? And I'm also noticing slightly different kind of a tension in my stomach. So I know there is an organ here, and I know there is an organ here. Yeah? And I'm noticing a certain tension about the organ. So our organs have a character of their own. Each organ has a character of its own. So right now what's coming to my attention is my liver and my stomach. Okay? Now, okay, so now what's coming to my attention is a certain, it's like a language between the nervous connections and my stomach. So I've been thinking I need to work on my stomach a little bit, because so it's like, you have a vehicle and you regularly need to service it. Yeah. So now, so my vehicle of my body, since I'm the maintainer, different organs have their own service time. Sometimes you can either keep a clock and then keep a calendar and do that, or you can say, okay, now it seems a little cranky, so let's do a little bit of service. So right now, So my liver has had a chance, had a little servicing, my spleen has had a little servicing, the spine. So now my stomach is saying a little attention needed. So there's a little acidic kind of a sensation there. Now that I've acknowledged how my solar plexus has been being about talking, and this has been so constantly being maintained that I have not been speaking online. Yeah. So the solar plexus. So that tension which has been maintained by the solar plexus is now in some ways having its show even through the stomach. So there's a little acidic kind of a sense there. Okay. So now we are. So I'm going to maintain the stomach. Okay, it's more like. Okay, it seems like this is a bigger video and has more to offer. So I'm just going to go with it. So I'm paying attention to that acidic kind of a little, how do you say, it's a little bitey kind of a sense. It's not bitey, it's more pinchy, yeah, a little kind of a acidic. It's like, this is more a nerve plus acid thing, yeah. So you could say, okay, it's bad, you know, you need to watch for an ulcer, but you know what? This is also a regular practice. So sometimes tension becomes more, so then it needs a little longer maintenance, and this is part of taking care of your health. Nirbeeja Yoga style, but this is part of. This is also the therapeutic part. If I'm going to only work on healing a part of my body, yeah. So okay, so the breaths, okay, each tissue, each organ has its own breath, has its own, every tissue breathes, that's why it's alive. So if it was not breathing, you would call it as gangrenous, yeah, or in many stages of necrosis or dying, yeah. So each tissue has its own breath because of which it's alive. So the tissues, the breaths which have been being maintained by the tissues of the stomach, I'm going to burp now. The stomach and the solar plexus, there's a certain tension between them, yeah. So which has been maintaining the acidic thing. So as I've been talking about it and acknowledging the tensions there, the tissue tensions, yeah. So the tissue is substance, breath is more airy, yeah, or and then the nerves are a little fiery kind. So there's a tension, there's a relaxation between them while I'm being mindful, and the tensions are releasing themselves. So they're not like in a hole like that. They're kind of doing that, yeah. So which is why I said I'm going to burp now, which means that held tension, the energetic tension with which it was held like this. So if you, in a compound, in a chemical compound, you're going to break a compound into its components, so that the energy which held the compounds together will release for the parts to come out, yeah. So the energy may be experienced as heat. It could also come out as a burp, because that's again a release of something held, yeah. Now it's easy. I don't have that bitey sense. Whew. That's nice. Okay, now I'm going to relax my legs. Oh, nice. See? So what's happening is my nerves are sort of, which has been part of maintaining the tension. You know, now you would think, what's there to do with releasing my legs? But it's more like, you never know. There's no small thing or a big thing about the body. What may seem like just a small tension of the tendon may actually be a fracture maintained without being broken. Instead, all you can feel is a tension and a tendon, because so much of tension is held somewhere else and you can't feel it because you're kind of insensate around what's happening around that area, and all you can feel is a tension somewhere else where you're not so insensate. But if you pay attention to it, you never know what is actually getting resolved, yeah. So in resolving that tension, my legs are like, all right, now I'm sitting more like a child with a, foot up like that. Okay. So there is that existential angst about my solar plexus, about speaking out and being heard, seen. Yeah. So it's also an experiential, but it's also developmental traumas get resolved. So to an extent that is possible at a point in time. So depending on, right now I'm speaking to a video, if I'm speaking to a group of people and I'm speaking this and I need to tell the details of what's happening in my body, in my story of living, in my, a lot of people may not be comfortable speaking about their life story and what kind of traumas, tensions may be there, in which case they're not really acknowledging the actual experience of it. And hence, there may be a difficulty in how well the resolution can happen. Yeah, something may be held like this, and until you actually move through all the details, the resolution may not really happen. Which is kind of what makes Nirbeeja Yoga interesting, unique. So right now I'm speaking this, so I'm work in progress. So I don't know how the future videos will be, but I'm speaking this, which is already so many miles ahead of where I was when I began. Now so there is this cool, so I've spoken I spoke so many words. That's also the energy which has been held, spoken out in words. It's like the fire. I went through the experience, the past experience of it, and the emotional, from there to now I have made a movement. So in the experience, all of those energy, the fire, or the energy which has been held in there in some way, has found a release, not just through my posture relaxing, but also in the kind of words I'm using and how I'm saying it. So there's been a release of what has been held as an experience of living, has now moved into the next stage of expression, of experience. So it's one level of trauma, if you can say it that way, which has now released, so that now what's coming to attention is there's a certain coolness about the region of my solar plexus, about the region of my lungs, liver, stomach, lungs. We are coming to the diaphragm now, because the left is showing a little bit of tension. Slight. It's like you feel the surface of water, still water. You just feel it. There's a certain surface tension. Yes, the water has a certain surface tension. So the left lung has that surface tension. The right lung is more vapor like. Okay, now to come to the diaphragm itself. What comes to attention is my liver, right side of my liver, which needs a little more maintenance. But now it's more like the center of stage, the character main of the show is in, it's more like spotlight, sounds, diaphragm. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe I need to pay attention to the liver, but it's more like this is not the main character of this show. Spotlight on diaphragm. So the whole system is now, the stage is more set for the diaphragm. Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. It's so wonderful. The drama. It's not the drama though. The performance, once you are paying attention to the language of your body, your movies pale. Really, it's quite a big story. Okay, so there's a tension in I call it my bra strap, but it's more like a tension about here. It's like a line about here, yeah? It's not really my bra strap, but it's more a tension about the tissue here, yeah? But it's only going up to here. So this is the band of tissues that's about this region. So much. which is holding my shoulder bones in a certain tension. Now what is this doing is, I think my diaphragm is working itself, working its own tension out, because I've done this so many times. It's an automatic mode. Okay. Oh, right. It's taking care of itself. Okay. So, I'm bringing attention to the region of my diaphragm. Like your body begins to maintain itself. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I haven't spoken this so much. So, yeah. It's more like you're watching children. Yeah. Pay a little attention, and then they learn to, okay, now they learn to pack their own tiffin and then take care of their homework. And when they are hungry, they let you know. Instead of you asking, are you hungry? Yeah. From that to they letting you know they're hungry. So, okay, just in the presence of how much of work is already gone. Okay, now, so I'm bringing my attention to my diaphragm, and I'm noticing a certain tension to the left and to the right. Okay, if the diaphragm you may be appreciating as a band of tissue. If you're feeling like a band here, it's fair enough to think that that's your diaphragm. It may or may not be, but if you're noticing it as a band, that's still good enough to begin to pay attention to what may be some stages of diaphragm breathing. Yeah, noticing that there's tension, that you're noticing a band-like thing is also good enough. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is again words trying to find the right way of communicating it. And I'm paying attention to my diaphragm. So some bit of my communication issues. So histologically, the liver, the diaphragm and the heart are said to have been born together, like a trio. And then over a period of time, the heart and the diaphragm and the liver, they occupy their own spaces. So the liver goes here, the diaphragm occupies this middle space, and the heart occupies here. So the three actually were born together, and then they change in size and dimension. So these three are pretty together triplets, so to speak, if you can call it that. Yeah. So diaphragm has been kind of managing the show between the lower part and the upper part. Yeah. So my words are going a little bit in repeat mode, circling round and round. So I have been also kind of working between the left and the right parts of my body, maintaining it. So, and I just took my corona vaccination yesterday. Yeah. So my physiology is now learning it. My physiology kind of went back a little bit, so to speak, memory-wise, to a stage before I had begun my therapy work. Somehow the vaccination took my experience of living to a stage, to a memory stage, tissue memory, before I began my therapy work. So from there, I'm kind of rebuilding my learning and coming to, while the practice of what I need to be doing today, while I'm aware that this is my enterprise, and this is the work I do. So the physiology is remembering how is life experienced today, that I have an enterprise, this is the work I do. So what I call as putting myself together to how I need to be today also involves the physiology remembering, not just being in a past state or in a traumatic or a nice experience in the past, but how is life today, and not being jangled between the past and the present experience and the expectations of the future. There is no entanglement between in the experience of time. So while I'm doing things today, while I'm noticing my diaphragm remembers sort of a little bit, is in a state between how it used to be before I began therapy work and then now. So I was noticing a certain tension, so I thought, let me just do a video on how I'm maintaining my diaphragm. So my diaphragm has gone back to a memory, then this, that, how to speak, something like that. Okay, so noticing, so now what's coming to my attention is there was tension more in the left and right, so now there's more tension towards the front of the band. Yeah, not really my liver, but in the band, so to speak. And then, so it's not just acknowledging tension, it's also paying attention to the spaces around it. Now there is tension and there's also no tension around it. For example, there is, okay, so I'm paying attention to the tension, I'm paying attention to the softness of the tissues, I'm also paying attention to the warmth of tissues around there. So if there is a movement of the tissue tensions, then like I said, if something was like this and that is releasing, there would be heat. So I'm also noticing, okay, there is heat, now there is a little coolness, I'm noticing that. So when that is happening, there is already movement happening. Now it's about how you pay attention to the tissues that makes a difference. When you're in a thing of, okay, I'm noticing this, what's the cause for this, and where is this coming from, what is it, this may be a complication, what am I going to do? So there are worry mechanisms, yeah? I'm more intellectually looking at, okay, there is, where is this coming from, what is the name of this tissue, where is this going to, where is this tension going, what will happen if this is going to continue? It's more intellectual, worry. That's not the that's not the kind of attention I'm paying. What I'm paying attention to is, okay, there is tension here. I'm not going by where it's coming from, why is it, all of that. If it comes to my attention, if my thought processes involves an idea of maybe this is coming from there, or it may not be like maybe this is coming from, I will just remember an incident, or I will have an emotional experience, which could also be something which is like this, may be moving, but may also be an emotion which may be held in this, which may be coming to my attention. So I'm not looking for an emotion. I'm not looking for a memory. I'm not looking for a cause. What I'm doing is noticing there is tension, and then I'm noticing what else there is to notice. Yeah? And then I'm noticing, okay, there's temperature. So this could be from a release, need not be, or it could just be that, okay, there is warmth. I'm noticing a warmth in the left, just above my liver, but it's also, I think, my diaphragm region there. The solar plexus has just been releasing, yeah? Solar plexus has, release is a word, so that has been released there. So I'm also paying attention to the words I'm using. Right now I'm using words, but that's also part of, this is more advanced, where you need not be talking it. So yeah, that's part of it too, but I haven't been demonstrating it in video. So when somebody is listening to you, when somebody is watching you and you're speaking this, so it's another experiential level, yeah? May not be so comfortable, or you may like, what are going to people think about me, so those kind of things. So that it's a condition of being human, familiarity. So there's always a listening and speaking. So while I'm speaking, there's always a listening for, there's something in the environment changed. Maybe a person just walked in and how they listen to me. So my sensory awareness may be picking up with how is a person listening to me. And that may be giving my alerts up on how am I being judged, am I being listened to the way, am I being cared for, so all of those existential concerns are there. So that may affect what is the practice right now. Yeah, so I'm still work in progress. I need to go through stages and, okay, now somebody is watching and I don't think I can be, that would be unsafe maybe, where you've just left care to the wind, I don't know. Mindfulness, it's humanity across boundaries. So you need to be aware of what your boundaries are and what is your safety things. So this is what is present for me right now. Okay, so I hope this gives a little bit into the practice of diaphragm breathing itself. So key takeaways maybe paying attention to the tensions, paying attention to the softness of tissues, which would be tensions, or the softness, which is kind of complementary there, yeah? If you notice, they're actually complementary. We don't see them to be opposites, but complementary. Excuse me, so there's a burp. for some energy release. Oh yes, solar plexus, diaphragm that has been tensed. So I just burped, which for me is a sign that what has been being worked between my solar plexus, my diaphragm, and the tension in my lungs. Ooh, it's so easy. My mediastinum has been like, my mediastinum is sitting on my diaphragm right now. Like after a hard day's work, you squat your bum, and it's like, oh nice. Yeah, I know I'm using gross, but then sometimes you simply need to use words to express an experience, which may sometimes not be seen as so civil. You may have to use some nice words, but then when you keep talking to kids, okay, this is grandma, yeah. So I have a grandma oldness about me. So the kid now just got released, and the grandma is kind of my mediastinum space. A little bit of grandma experience. Quite an old, has seen through many things in life, and now there's a certain grandma experience. So all care and all nice words gone. I'm using squat your bum. Whew. Because grandmas, have you noticed, they don't care about you. You need to listen to it. So because it's the most simplest, effective way of telling that there is an ease and relaxation. You want to go to all of this experiential and emotional consideration, social, civil stuff. You will not say the words that needs to be said. It simply, effectively communicates the experience. You go about so many nice and then talking it nice. So, heart, mediastinum. Whew. Kids these days. Yeah? So solar plexus, how to speak, how not to speak, and all of this stuff. And this is like, when are you going to relax, release it? But you're not aware of this is a normal. You don't know you're held up like that until one releases, and now it's like a stack. This is easy. The other goes like ting. Now I have some more space here. Yeah, like you have a stack of cards or stack of something there. This one is easy and relaxed. Other things like a tuck. So now I have so much space here. Either I can sing it. Oh, I'm so happy. I can sing it. My lungs are happy. And my brain is also cooler because it's not emotionally like, so everything here. Easy. Besides, this is the second day from having had my corona injection, second dose. So my physiology has also in some way been holding up, yeah? So it's like, tuck. Thinking is more clearer, happier. I invite you to go back into this video from the beginning to now and notice how is my countenance, how is my expression. You might notice something on what is possible from Nirbeeja Yoga. This needs to be experienced. And so this is a little bit of maintenance of diaphragm. Hopefully that's going to be a shorter video. Or you can just schedule a session with me, so you will have the direct experience than just watching my experience of putting myself together. So you can just have it, and you don't have to listen to all of these so many words. Maybe you can just experience it and think, yeah, nice, yeah. So thank you for listening. Happy discoveries.